22 years and on camera for Hello, I'm Meryl Hathaway, and today our guest is Keri Murphy, the CEO and founder of Inspired Living. She is committed to empowering people all over the world to dream it, live it, be it. I love it. This international speaker, video marketing expert, and business mentor honed her expertise in the entrepreneurial field for more than 22 years and on camera for over 3 decades. My kind of gal. She was chosen to be a mentor for the Branson Center of Entrepreneurs, helping hundreds from around the world. Her company specializes in teaching entrepreneurs how to stand out online, authentically show up on camera, and become an industry leader in their space. And her signature IT Factor training is the most sought out on-camera training for entrepreneurs in the United States. I am so delighted to welcome Keri to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for gracing us with that face. We're going to jump right into our first segment called Getting to Know You, where I'm just going to ask you a couple of this or that questions. Don't think too hard, meant to be fun.
Okay, good to know. I have a child. They took all the brain with them. So
right.
All good.
Okay,
Exactly.
So number one, tablet or laptop?
Laptop.
Yeah. It's just easier, right? Everybody seems to think
My
so.
daughter stole my tablet. It's done. Yeah.
There you go. You're a parent. It's gone. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah.
I recently did a 5-day cleanse with no caffeine. I'll tell you. I could give up my wine, even though that's hard too. But the coffee, getting up at 5 a.m. with my toddler, that was a rough one.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I did. I'm not going to try to best you on it, but I did a 15-day cleanse recently, which was significantly
try
too
to
long.
one-up me, Meryl. That's fine.
It was
That's fine.
way too long.
Yeah.
5 is plenty. Giving up the
good.
caffeine and wine is like, woof. It was hard.
It was a thing. I'm like,
I feel you.
Moving on.
Yeah, you did it. And then you're like, okay, day 6, here we go. Back to what I was doing before. Or that's just me. All right. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Yeah. OG.
I haven't quite made it into the TikTok hemisphere.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I won't. I just haven't yet.
It's an open door if you decide to walk through it, but
I've been told.
Yeah, I know.
My daughter will probably have a TikTok before I do.
Yep.
And she's 6.
My dogs will have one before I do, I think, or know how to actually function and decide to give it a go. All right. Scripted video or improvised video?
Improvised 1,000,000%.
I love that.
No,
I was not sure what you were going to say, so I'm excited that that's the answer.
I mean, I'm going to say improvised with a little bit of structure. So I never script, but I do bullet point. So
I love that. I think having an outline in general is always helpful, but I agree that in almost anything, like having a full script, it almost distracts more than anything. It keeps you from being like present.
In your heart. You cannot be in your head and your heart at the same time. Impossible.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I love that. Netflix or YouTube?
Oh, that's not fair. That's not a fair question. Because it's 2 different things, and I wish I had more time to watch TV in general. When I'm snuggling up with my hubby, it's Netflix. When I'm trying to learn something or I need a quick answer, it's YouTube.
Yes,
so
that is
hard because they're not
almost across the board. What everybody seems to think is like you go onto YouTube very specifically if you need something. My phone shut off the other day and it did this really weird thing where I thought it had died completely, had no idea what to do. I went onto YouTube on my computer. It said, hey, this is why this happens. Here's how to fix it. And I'm like, where else can I get that information? Nowhere.
Can I tell you a really great story?
Yeah.
When I had my daughter at Cedars, this was again, she's 6 now, but I get out, my mom's visiting. I'm a single mom at the time, and it is so hot. Like, it's LA. It's so hot in this parking garage. And the car seat, I get the car seat in the car, but it's too tight. I can't get Lauren in the car seat. I've been in the hospital, right? I have on 0 sleep. I am crying. Like, the security guys are trying to help me, like, figure out how to loosen the straps of the car seat. I'll tell you what, YouTube saved my life. I'm like, oh, there's a button that you push. Okay, first time mom, I didn't know. There's a button you push that releases the straps. I mean, can we just say, where would we be without YouTube? Here I am, imagine crying with my newborn child, trying to get her in their car seat.
I can't even. I also always think about it like this. It's like, bless the hearts of the people who take the time to say to themselves, you know what's tricky? This thing. And you know what I'm going to do about it? I'm going to make a video
Video.
and post it on YouTube so other people can figure this out way quicker than it
God
took me to do it.
bless ya. Yes.
I don't know why you do it. I'm glad you do, because I would
Thank
never
you.
take the time to do it that way. But thank you. Thank you from all of us. Amazing. And lastly, entrepreneur or employee?
Oh my Lord, entrepreneur. Hello.
Hi, duh.
Duh. I haven't been an employee since I was 22. And
Damn, girl.
that was a minute ago. Mm-hmm.
Good work. Yes, I knew you were going to answer it that way, but I had to give it to you anyway.
Sure.
All right. So let's move right into, I think, my favorite segment of the show, which is called Humble Beginnings, where I ask you, please, Keri, tell us, what was your very first job ever?
First job ever was a Nordstrom stock girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Stock at Nordstrom's. It was fun. It was good. It was humbling.
You got that discount too.
I got the discount, and I will never forget, some of my coworkers were stealing. And I was just like, oh my God, like people actually do this. Like they would take stuff off the rack and like shove it down their shirts and pants and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
OMG, right? Yeah.
And you observed it. Did you tell on anybody?
You know, come on, what? I was 15. No,
Yeah, it was
I
mob
didn't.
rules. You were like, no way, I'm not turning you
No,
in.
not
We'll
doing
all
it.
go down together.
Not doing it.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. So would you have to work like crazy long hours stocking in the front of the store, or you were like bringing boxes in? Like what kind of
No,
stocking
it was like, you know, when
it?
people were in the clothing, like in the dressing room, and then
Yeah.
they leave their clothes like the complete mess. Like, I don't understand how people can leave a dressing room. Like, would you
I've
leave your
never
bedroom like that?
I know. It's
So
so
the
rude. You
stock
know
girl,
someone
we'd
else
have
has to do it.
Ridiculous.
Like, what are you
And
doing?
now I'm always so kind. When I go into a dressing room, I hang everything back up. I mean, people just leave it on the floor like a pigsty. So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
We'd have to go in, pick up the rooms, put them back into the little closet, organize, get it back on the floor. Gosh, you're so funny, Meryl. Like, this is bringing me back to something I don't think I've talked about in literally like since I was 15. So it's so funny. The vivid memories.
Yeah, it brings it back. And also, like, it's clearly like you're having a visceral reaction to like, and I still don't understand why people can live their lives like this and think that it's fine.
I just tell you, the dressing rooms. Good
I
Lord,
know.
people.
I get it. Okay, so all the way from picking up after people in dressing rooms to where you are now, tell us a little bit about what that journey has looked like.
Oh my God, it's been so divine. And I know that might sound a little woo, but when I look back at all the dots, I couldn't have made this life up. Like, it is just, it to this day boggles my mind. So, started out really wanting to be a supermodel, grew up in the 80s, you know, and so my mom put me
I can see it. I can see it.
I'm Italian though. The hips got bigger than the height. And but I remember
Thank God
at
for that.
11, the curves rule. I went into these little modeling and acting classes in Portland, Oregon, where I grew up, and I fell in love with just being on stage and being on camera, and yet I will never forget looking back at myself, watching myself during acting classes, like it was the worst horror film on the planet, right? You're like,
Really?
oh my God, I look like that? Like, do I sound like that? And, you know, 11, 12, you're so awkward. I mean, come on. But the reason why I bring that up now is because as adults and how I train people to be on camera to grow their businesses, that little voice never goes away, right? Never goes away. So from 11 to now, I started my first business at 22. Let me just rewind just a little. So I got a full scholarship to a college here in Southern California for leadership. And it was my dream to be like, I'm dating myself again, Mary Hart on Entertainment Tonight. Like, I really wanted to be like a national like entertainment show reporter. Like, that was my jam. And so I'm like, this is what I'm doing. This is my vision. And so I moved. I was the only one in my family to actually go to college and move away from Oregon. And it's still today, all my family is still there. And I fell in love with ocean and beach and palm trees and all the things. But then my parents got a divorce. So I ended up going back. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because I'm like, I don't have a job. Like, what am I going to do? I had no plan B. I never have a plan B. And so I called up the agency owner that I went through as a little girl. And I said, "Hey, do you have a job? Like I would love to work for you." And she said, "Absolutely, come in." So for 5 years, Meryl, I worked for the agency I went through as a little girl. And then at 27, I ended up buying that company. And so again,
Whoa.
like the pieces were just all the divine pieces. And in the interim of that, I had an interior design business. I started when I was 23. And I always used video. I was always the local like interior design expert on the morning show. I was always doing this. I was still doing commercials. So I was always using video to grow my business. I just didn't realize it at the time. Like,
Yeah.
hello, we didn't have any of the assets that we do today. And so when 2008 hit, I was devastated because I was forced with the decision to close the agency,
Mm.
had to short sell my home, and it was, I remember that like yesterday too. That could be very visceral for me because it was a moment in my life where I was my business. Like I didn't have a separate identity. Like Carrie was the agency owner and like the big fish in the small pond. But I did end up moving out to Los Angeles, signed with an agent out here, and for about a year was doing the host hustle and was like, at this point, I'd been an entrepreneur for over 10 years, and waiting for someone to give me a job was probably the most painful thing on the planet. And I just had this aha moment that I'm like, actually, it wasn't, I was in an audition for 3 hours in a bikini. It's a long story, but I broke into tears. I'm like, forget it. I'm never doing this again. Inspired Living was born. And 11 years later, I have a seven-figure business coaching entrepreneurs around the world, teaching them how to be authentic on camera and make a big difference with their message and their brand. And I love what I do so, so much, but I didn't grow up thinking that this is what I was going to do. It just looking back at the dots, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just so perfectly culminated to where I am now.
Yeah, wow, that's so fascinating also just to have. Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that when you said it's woo, I'm like, yeah, but it's also that's a very real woo sort of a
Yeah.
scenario. I mean, all
Yeah.
different pieces coming together. And I relate so much to that. Being an actress for 14 years, yeah, it's waiting for other people to give you jobs, even though, and you and I are hustler people, like I will work my butt off.
Yeah.
But having to sit and wait for someone to allow for that is like maddening. So I totally understand that side of it, but also that when you naturally can do something really well, it feels almost like, why would I not go try to help other people understand how to do this?
Well, you know what's so funny, Meryl? And I love this so much because, and I just love, I mean, you're like one of the best podcast guests on the planet, by the way. Like your energy and what you bring. I'm having so much fun. And you,
Yay.
you have this charisma, you have this it factor. And I think what's so painful is when you know that you have a gift or you have this drive or you have this vision and you're just waiting for someone to validate it. You're like, can you please
Yeah.
tell me I'm good enough? Can you please tell me I deserve my YouTube channel? Can you please tell me? And for me and for the people I work with, like they know that they have something really amazing to share. They have a great story, they have a great product or a great service. And yet, just like you and me, they sit there and they wait for
Yeah.
someone to find them or to tell them they're good enough. And this is where I love where we are today is that we have these $1 million assets called social media at our fingertips that, you don't have to audition. You don't have to wait. I mean, think about how many no's you and I have experienced throughout our lifetime in the
Yeah.
entertainment industry and being, oh my God, I suck, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too that. And even though I don't think the critic ever goes away, when you are truly in service and you're seeing the transformation that people are having,
Yeah.
like man, that builds that confidence muscle. And I feel like that's what video really is. It's a muscle. You use it, you get good at it. Just like, acting is a craft. You have to hone it.
Right.
So anyway, I could talk to you
Yeah.
all day. Super
I
fun.
know, no, I love it. So what would you say is one of the things that makes an on-camera appearance authentic? Because that's obviously the most crucial piece. Like you can look like what people would imagine being like the perfect looking person, right? Let's just
Mhm.
pretend that that's a thing. But if you open your mouth and
Let's
you sound
pretend
like
that's a thing.
that, you
Yeah.
sound like cardboard walking. It's like there's nothing that's going to happen
Yeah.
from that. So what makes it authentic?
Well, I would say when it comes to more of the entrepreneurial space, what really transfers so much better on camera is when you know who you're talking to. And most people that I experience, they're like, "Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so glad you're with me today. I'm Carrie. I'm amazing. I'm going to teach you all these things." And it's like there's no connection.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you can start your video and Like, you know that you know who's on the other side, you know their pain, you know their challenge, and you could start a video with something that is about them. Like,
Mm.
look, I know that you need to be on camera, and yet it terrifies you. You have a message you want to share, you have lives you want to touch, and this whole thing is just so overwhelming for you, you don't know where to start. Like, when you start from there, that's authentic. When you stop thinking about you,
Yes.
that's authentic. And when you really know yourself, know thyself. And I think this is one of the beautiful things about life journey and being a little bit more mature, is that you really stop caring. I think when you try to be perfect, it's the antithesis to connection. You can't be perfect and connect, because no one relates to perfection. And
Yeah.
yet most people, when they're on camera, they just want to be perfect. And it is literally the
Yes. And it
poison.
is annoying. It's annoying. And
It's
like
so
I always
annoying.
it's annoying. And I
Yeah.
always wonder about there's all those people on like on Instagram, just Instagram as an example, that are the, quote unquote influencers, right?
Mhm.
And so my sister works for a yoga apparel brand. And one of the things that I don't understand are the like fitness influencer people who just post photo after photo or video after video of them looking perfect in
Yeah.
like a beautiful setting. And I'm like,
Mhm.
what am I supposed to get from that aside from, wow, look at your butt and abs. That's
Yeah.
great for you. I don't
Right.
understand it. And yet a lot of
I'm
them
just going
have
to
those like,
continue to be flabby over here. Yeah.
like all
Yeah.
what am I getting from this? But also
Yeah.
they have like the 300,000 plus followers. And I'm like, how many of those are bought though? If that's what you're actually putting out there, because like you're saying, there's zero thing for me to connect to there. I don't
Yeah.
understand what that's about.
Well, I think it's interesting. It's such an interesting place we're in, because when you find those people, most of those, probably likes or followers are purchased. But
Right.
also, you throw out a little TNA online and it's like, oh my God, look at her
I
butt,
know.
look at her boobs. Like, okay, if you want to grow your followers, great, but that's not authentic. And someone might look at you, but are they going to buy from you? How are you
Right.
monetizing that? I'm sorry, like, I want to be able to make money. So I'm like, you might look good, but how are you monetizing that and connecting with people in a way that, we say building a brand is being the guide, not the hero. So she's always the hero, the person in the yoga pants in the perfect place, the perfect spot. Like, and all we say is like, oh, that's cool. Like, wow,
Yeah,
that's
I'm like,
amazing.
good for Costa Rica. What
Right.
am I getting? I just don't understand.
Exactly. Yes.
So what would you say then to someone who's trying to build out their business? And let's say, they're really starting from the ground up, or they're in a very medium tier right now to get to that seven-figure type of brand.
Mhm.
And because I know one of the things you say is leading with your heart versus like that like cutthroat business model. So
Yeah.
what are some ways that you might suggest or want to talk about actually doing that?
Well, I think it's important to go back to when you're starting out, everything feels so hard,
Yeah.
and you're throwing like spaghetti on the wall every day. You're like, oh, over here, over here, over here, bright shiny object, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And I will say, when I look back, Meryl, at like what has been like the things that have created the big shifts in my business,
Mhm.
it was actually like two things. It was being visible. I mean, I look back to my videos when I started Inspired Living back in like 2010, 2011. I didn't have team, I didn't have crew. They were horrible, but my message is still really the same. I mean, I haven't really changed over the years. My team has, my production value has, but I think that you have to remember is that people don't decide to do business with you because you have great production quality. They decide to do business with you because there's a connection there. And I'll go back to that in a minute. So I think visibility is huge. When you don't feel like it, when you don't feel like anyone's watching, you have to be consistent and show up so people can. And then I really
Yeah.
think community. When I think about, what again brought another zero to my bottom line, it was speaking on stages like Lisa Nickel and Ali Brown and David Nagel, and building relationships with people, and not waiting again for someone to find you, to be proactive. I mean, I think when you're in entertainment too, you just have this super like tenacity, resilience. Like, you can be
Yeah.
told known a million times. It doesn't mean it doesn't sting, but then you're like, okay, next thing. And I think that mindset with entrepreneurship is so important. Like, it's not personal, it's timing, it's preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And so to be consistent, and I have these 4 C's if I can share. So I think when it comes to video, the most important thing is emotional connection. Video is about emotional connection. If you don't emote, if you don't make me feel something, and by the way, you have 3 to 8 seconds to do that these days. Like, I'm going on to the next thing. Make me laugh, make me cry, make me curious, intrigue me, like something. And that's why I say, don't start your videos all about you unless you have an amazing story that you start with and people are like leaning in and like, ooh, I want to hear. So connection in everything, in your copy, in your website, in your podcasts. You know, you have to emotionally connect with people.
Yes.
And then that connection, consistency. When you feel no one's watching, you're uploading your videos to YouTube anyway. You're sharing content. You're giving great stuff out there, you know, and the more consistent you are, the more credible you become. Everyone wants to become an influencer. But the thing is, like, influencers can be bought, but most of them are like made over time. You know, we laugh about it, right? That the 10-year overnight success, you know, and so it is show up consistently, and then you will breed credibility. And then the more credibility you have, the more conversion you have. So those are the 4 C's I talk so much to my clients about: connection, consistency, credibility, conversion. Like, it's just like, just go with that. Start with that, and that will lead to.
So speaking of all of those are so helpful. And I think a big part of, or another part of what's difficult for a lot of people is like, you know, that feeling of, I know I'm good at what I do. I know that I should be making all this money and I should be working with different clients and like, I should be out there in the world succeeding. But also that imposter syndrome comes in for so many people. And I know a lot of people talk about, and that women especially deal with it, but I think it's really across the board, imposter syndrome. Can you speak on that at all, of like how to sort of grapple with that and then overcome it? Because it's a beast.
It's a beast. I did a YouTube video on it. So here's
you did.
Of course I did. Listen, like, when you do the research, you would be blown away by the amount of people that are very, very well known that suffer from imposter syndrome. And yet the people who actually are frauds, who aren't authentic, who aren't real, they don't suffer from imposter syndrome.
Because they're narcissists. So they're like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And everybody's like,
fraud. So my good news is, look, if you suffer from imposter syndrome, that means that you're not one. That so many people feel that way. And you have to remember, when you're starting a business, all you need to do is be 2 steps ahead of someone else. Right. And the imposter syndrome comes into like, oh my God, I'm not a 7-figure business owner. I don't have 50,000 people on my list. I don't have that following. First of all, it really comes down to comparing yourself, and comparing yourself is the thief of all joy. So stop it. Yeah. Stop it. You have no idea how they're making money, if they're making money, how they feel about their lives. I mean, they might look great and they are a depressed ball, you know, on the floor. So you gotta get out of that, because that's really where it comes from, right? Is comparing yourself to someone else and saying, I'm not good enough.
I suffer all the time from that. I grew up as a dancer and a gymnast in a leotard, looking at a mirror, standing next to 12 other girls. I ended up being like, well, comparison is what I'm supposed to do. And unless I'm like this, when your teachers are also saying like, oh, Jody's really smart. Did you see what Jody did? And you're like, well, I didn't get that. It's like, it's everywhere. And then also our culture, it exacerbates all those things that naturally as humans, you look to your right to go, oh, okay, I'm measuring up. Okay. But the way that culture is set up it exacerbates all of it. And I do think it's just so crucial to focus on the fact that like, you really don't know what is ever going on behind the scenes. I mean, we all thought Brad and Angelina were the perfect couple. I mean, we all thought that.
No. J-Lo and A-Rod. I still can't
the
get
Miami
over.
thing. They've got the kids. They're both Latin. What? Come on. And then nothing. And now with Ben, we didn't know. Come on.
I mean, I still talk to my husband about this. Like, how did that happen?
How did it happen right under our noses? We didn't see it coming.
I tell you. And that's, again, just so indicative to life. Like the canvas you see is not not the paint that's on it. You know what I mean?
So focusing on you.
Yes. When I host this annual event, and Ricky Hughes is a Emmy award-winning producer, and she said something that still sticks to me. She's like, you just need to row your own canoe. Like, you know, stop looking at what everyone else is doing. Don't get off your track, and to just trust that, hey, look, if I know 2 things more than someone else and I can help them get those 2 things, then you bring value.
Yeah.
You don't need to know all things because you never will.
And
You know,
nobody
it's
does.
like
Nobody knows all
nobody
the things.
does,
There's
you know,
just so
but
many things.
there's so many things. And this brings me back to one of the really important parts right now, I think, Meryl, when it comes to growing a business, especially if you want to build a wealth business that you can leave, legacy and all those things. Stop trying to catch the ocean. Stop. Like, stop working with everybody. Stop saying you work with everybody. No, you don't. You don't work with everyone. Like, know your ideal client, become a specialist in something. Seth Godin's book, This Is Marketing, I swear to God, I read it and I just get all excited because everything that I teach, the It Factor training, all of those things, he talks about smallest viable market. Like, stop trying to reach the millions, because when you reach the one enough, it will turn into millions. And I think that that's what we have to remember, is that every time you press record, you're not reaching millions. Excuse you want to reach one at a time, and the more ones you reach, the more that ripple effect will take place. So please stop trying to catch the ocean.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great way of, it's just a good metaphor. Like, how could you even possibly try? Like, you're going to bring a bucket over and over and somehow it's never going to happen. Like, your
No, or
bucket
you're
is not
gonna
big enough.
use, like I always say, you're gonna cast bait out there. I'm not a fisherman, but if I was, I'm gonna pretend, like, and you use different bait for different fish, and so, and this is horrible, like comparing people to fish, but I'm just saying, like, your message is in a way bait. Like, you're trying to attract the right people, and different messages, different stories, different things attract different people.
Right,
So
right. Exactly. No, it all makes total sense. And I think it's a good way of, it's just it's again, it's like we can't all be capable of doing everything. So stick to what you're good at, learn what you're good at, stick to what you're good at, try to access clients or people that can benefit from what you are good at. Because otherwise you're just going to spin your wheels and drive yourself crazy. And
you will. And I'll tell you, people
yeah.
are paying more for specialists. People want results. There is so much online. I don't think there's anything new, right? It's just the
Yeah.
way you deliver it, the way you put it out there. But I will tell you, from dentist to doctor to business coach to health coach, when you are a specialist in menopause, when you're a specialist in first time home buyers, when you're a specialist in building out new entrepreneurs versus someone that is working with 7 and 8 figure business owners, like, the message is different and people will seek you out. And I will tell you, when I started Inspired Living, it was all things for all people. I got off a year of teaching NLP and quantum physics and all the things. And I'm like, Inspired Living, it's health and relationships and business and finance. And even though I did 6 figures my first year, it was a struggle because no one knew what I did. The minute I shifted into, we specialize in teaching entrepreneurs how to be visible using video, the business grew. I got invites to speak on stages because I didn't compete with business coaches. I was complimentary. Lisa Nichols teaches how to speak on stage. I teach video. What a great partnership. Like, you really start making yourself more of a needed commodity instead of, I do all things.
Yes. Oh, you're speaking so, yeah, I'm taking it all in myself. This is so incredibly insightful and helpful. The only other question I really wanted to ask you was if you could tell us a little bit about your It Factor training specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I just held one. And then so during 2020, I didn't get to have my It Factor training. And it really
Ugh.
has been our hero product. It's a 2-day on camera training where people fly in. Literally, the last training, we had people fly in from all over the country. Sometimes we have people fly in from all over the world. And they get 2 days with me and my team in a production studio where the day one, we're dissecting message, all the little quirky things that they do on camera. We're working them through it. We're really helping them understand who they are, why them, and who they're talking to. So day one is just very much experiential, getting on camera, doing the work. I teach a format so people are bullet pointing their content instead of doing any sort of long form script that is going to kill you.
Yes.
And then on day 2, I bring in my celebrity hair and makeup team, my photographer. They're shooting their positioning video for their website. It's magical. There's nothing else like it on the planet. The transformation, we only can work with 6 or 7 people because that's the bandwidth of, like, it's a production day, like all crew, all set. And then they have a product they can put on their website that's going to help their website convert over 80% better because there's a video on the homepage. So it's amazing. I love it. And I've done it now for over 10 years. So it's been really fun to see it grow and evolve and all the things.
Yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. The value of not just understanding like how you come off and what your presence is like, but getting coached around that, being able to change that and then do a physical, like actual production that you can then go and take with you.
Yeah.
That's so huge and
I
because
mean,
so many
really,
people
it's
have
a
no idea how
lifetime
to do that
ROI,
themselves.
right? Because
Yeah.
you will never press record the same way. I mean, we really work with our clients on, okay, did you feel that? Did you just see what you did? Did you feel what you just did? I want you to remember that when you go home. Like if you're
Yes.
here, if you're in your head and you don't know who you're talking to, because every single time they're disassociated or disconnected, I'm like, who are you talking to? I don't know. I know you don't know. I know you don't know. Like find the person. So it's really fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. I love that you're doing that. You're taking all of these things. You know what? It's very much all the connecting of the dots, all those things and wrapping
Yeah.
it into one thing to benefit other people. So amazing. All right, let's jump into our last segment of the show, which is just a few multiple choice questions. So I get to
Okay.
ask you fun things about percentages. And this is really just about like using video within like marketing and why it's like so helpful for so many people.
Is this a test? Is it a test?
No, because
Okay.
here's the thing. If you get all of them right, you win. And if you get 2 out of 3 right, you win. And if you get them all wrong, you win. So in all the ways,
perfect.
it's just a matter of this is part of my
I
bullet
like to
point
win.
to make sure we
Listen,
have.
I like
know.
to win. Okay.
Who doesn't? So this is just a way for us to like have extra little, tidbits of information to throw out there, but also to talk about. So, and there's nobody ever has anything to prep on for this either. So I purposely make some of them tricky. And so that way we can talk about it. So don't worry about it if anything happens. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
All right. All right.
Okay. So first question, what percentage of businesses use video as a marketing tool these days? Is it A, 30%, B, 60%, or C, 90%?
30%.
You know what? I thought actually it was going to be 30. It's 60%.
That was my second answer.
Because people are starting to understand the value of it. It should be 90%, which is what my brain did, was like, how is it not that not everybody, but I think obviously we know that only some people feel comfortable doing things on video. A lot of people don't. It also, in some of the research I was doing just around these questions, I was really amazed to see that like so many people or businesses just feel like it's just too much work to deal with. So they just avoid it, right?
Yes. And there was a statistic I read, it was probably a couple of years ago, I think it was in Entrepreneur magazine, that said less than 25% of entrepreneurs are using video effectively. So that 60% doesn't surprise me, but 60% can be using it, but 25%, which is where that 30%, is actually using it effectively in a way that actually works to convert and grow their company.
Right, exactly. Because we all know that you can also just put out a whole lot of really bad content.
Crappy content. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or using stock images for like everything, and that just it's not going to do anything. So you might be trying stuff, and it's still great, I think, to try things. Trial and error is huge.
Yeah. But it's the talking head that we all see. There's no emotional connection. It's all about you. You're selling me stuff. And you know what? I teach there's 5 types of videos another day, but I will say, like, you need to realize how you're showing up in the space.
Yeah. What are the 5 types of video? You don't have to go through each of them like in depth, but just what are the 5 types that
Positioning, the video you have on your website. Promotional, to promote. Personality, that's the video that grows your business, the behind the scenes, I want to know you and all those things. Product videos, so videos that teach me or give me something, right? So they could be a weekly blog, it could be an online course, and then proof, social proof videos, get other people to talk about you. 5 types of videos.
Oh, see? And I mean, even just the way that I'm just thinking about it right now, I'm like, okay, so I'm like going around the circle. I'm like, yeah, then you're really touching on everything, where instead of it just being copy, or I mean, just basic like blog information. Instead, you're getting it more directly and more authentically through the video. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Second question. What percentage, see, I love saying that. What percentage of marketers say that video has a better return on investment than static imagery? Is it A, 29%, B, 52%, or C, 74%?
74%.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's huge. It's totally different. I think that's also why we've seen things like TikTok pop up and Reels on Instagram and other things that are like, do more video. People want to watch that, whether they
Yeah.
have a long attention span or not, they still want access to that more, right?
Sure do. In fact, I don't know if you saw the recent post. I can't think of his name right now, but the head of Instagram just came on and shared that, Instagram's no longer a photo sharing platform. They want it to be a video sharing platform. Everything
Whoa, I
is going to
didn't see that.
video. Yes. So, yeah, it's that's not the purpose of Instagram anymore. And Facebook, of course, is competing with YouTube. Like everything is video. And I believe in my
Yeah.
heart that, listen, if you're a business owner and you don't learn how to use video in your business, you probably won't make it. I mean, just because this is where we live, right? This is the
Yeah.
space. And yeah,
I wonder if that means like are photos not helpful at all with things, or they're
they
helpful for
are.
certain things, and then
Yeah,
you
they
want to
are.
also make sure you have video.
Yeah, I mean, just think about this, Meryl. So, you look at a static photo, and that's great, but you're going to get so much more out of videos, and they want it to be really entertainment, infotainment, and that's what we do as entrepreneurs, right? We need to entertain, but give great, great quality, great information.
Yeah.
So I think, the photo is still great, but it's not converting. It's not doing the same that video
It
can
doesn't
do.
tell you as much usually. Like it's
Correct.
not
Yeah.
giving as much
You
of
don't feel
that.
as much. There's no
Yeah,
real
you're right.
emotional connection.
The connection part of it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
exactly where my brain went, was like, the connection. There it is. It's very
Yep.
different.
Whoop,
So yeah,
there
I
it
wonder if
is.
those yoga influencers, if they're gonna stop posting just their bikini shots, because
Yeah. Now
or
we're
they
gonna get
won't.
bikini reels.
Yeah. There's this amazing comedian, Celeste Barber. Are you familiar with her?
No.
Okay, I'll find you on all the things anyway, but I'll tag you in something or send it to you. What she does is she takes what models do and then she then does it herself. So it's usually something really innocuous or really silly, like
Uh-huh.
a very beautiful woman on a beach, just like, playing with a scarf and like moving a scarf around all sexy. And then Celeste will do it. And she's like in a much like uglier bathing suit with her belly hanging out. And she'll be using like a winter scarf instead of a silk one. And she'll just be like accidentally choking herself with it. So she's basically like, this is so silly that people spend so much time and are so invested in this thing that's not doing
Yeah.
anything for connectivity. And then she takes it and makes a huge joke out of it. It's
Yeah.
really brilliant usage of basically being like, what are you paying attention to this
What
for? It
are
makes
we
no
doing?
sense. What are we
Yes.
doing with
Yes.
this?
Love
Okay.
her already. Okay.
Oh my God, it's great. Okay, so last question of Branded. So what percentage of people watch online videos every week? Just watching online videos, not saying what they are, what they're for, but
Mhm.
what percentage of people are watching them? Is it A, 38%, B, 78%, or C, 58%?
78%.
Yep.
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
surprised it wasn't
Mhm.
higher than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everybody.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 out
3/4
of 10 people prefer watching video on their phones, like watching content on their phones, and they do the TV.
on mobile. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
6
think,
out of 10 people. Yeah.
isn't that
Mhm.
interesting?
Mhm.
Yeah, it really is. It's taken over in so many different ways. But even like we were saying before with like YouTube versus Netflix. Like you're gonna be at home and use your having access to stuff. It's much easier. Or like you
It
don't know how to
is.
change your flat tire. The first thing you're gonna do is go look up how to do it. It's much easier to watch someone do
It
it
is. Yeah.
than it is to read like 12
No
steps of how
doubt
to
about
do
it. How to fix the car seat in the hospital
right.
parking garage. Yes.
And also what's so amazing to me is that story reminds me, I feel like there's so many different movies and TV shows from like the 70s and 80s where that is a real thing that was scripted into like, who knows how to do that until all of a sudden you're doing it. And
Yeah.
they're much more complicated than you would ever give them credit
I
for
tell
being.
you what, it is true. I was so proud of myself. I got it in the car. I did it all by myself. I just didn't know how to use it yet.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So let's finish with this. I would love to just hear you say what it is that you love about being a business mentor, because everybody needs to have access to mentors in some way, or coaches in some way, but I think it's really nice to hear like the why behind it, because
Yeah.
we know that you got all this experience
Mhm.
before in your own world doing it, but what you love about mentoring other people.
Yeah. So I'm a middle child. And when I was growing up, even in school, I would find the person that I felt like had some potential that wasn't living up to it. And,
Yeah.
I feel like I've always been the coach. I literally have always been the cheerleader. And I love helping people see potential in their life. It is who I've always been. I've always been the person that tries to inspire and support other people. And so doing it for a living now, like it's so who I am, like helping people understand their it factor, uncover their it factor, believe in themselves, step into their vision. It brings me so much joy. Like literally, I could cry over it because it's the thing that it makes me feel good. I do what
Yeah.
I do because it lights up my world and I get to change other people's lives. And it just feels amazing when someone comes through an it factor or they go through my master class, which I'm hosting next week, and they're in tears, like, oh my God, like I can do this. Like I'm worthy. I don't have to wait for anyone. I'm like, I got this. And you see that aha moment like go in their head. Like it's amazing to help people build a business that really expresses who they are and helps serve other people. Like that's reciprocity to me. That's inspired living. That is inspired living. That's why my business is called that and not coaching with Keri. I also have 10 coaches on my team and we do so much more than video. We build brands and all those things too. But it's just, I love uncovering the possibility and helping people step into it.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
the people like us, I think, who are very supportive of others and want to see others succeed. It makes you feel good. And then there's people who
Yeah.
just want to be out in the world doing their own thing. And there's a big difference. You can just hear it in the way you explain it, how
Yeah.
important and impactful it is to you to watch other people succeed. I think it's so beautiful. So,
Thanks.
Keri, how do people follow you, reach out, find out more about all the different programs and things that they can be a part of with you? Tell us everywhere that people can follow and find you.
All of the things. Well, as we know, I'm on Instagram, not TikTok as of yet. So Inspired Living TV. And I have this really great Be Studio Ready guide. One question I get so much is, Keri, like, what equipment do I need? How do I set up my home studio or my office or whatever? So we put together a beautiful PDF. It's on my website, inspiredliving.tv, the television thing.tv. And so those are the two ways. We host a masterclass about every 8 weeks. I'm just rolling into it, called Video Confidence and Conversion. It's totally free. And again, I do it because the ahas, like it's just so beautiful to see people go, oh my God, I can do this. And they're doing the video challenge. So we have a private Facebook group called Ignite Your It Factor.
Okay.
Yes, that people can join as well.
Wonderful. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all of
Yes.
this for the audience. I feel like there's so much power in learning more about why like video is so important. So thank you so much for being here, sharing your story all the way from Nordstrom to here. Mazel on all of the things. And I
Yes,
hope that
thank
you
you.
stay safe and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.